All right, folks, Positive Paul, Wednesday, March 6th, 2019. Hope you're all well. Well, I guess recently I've had a little satisfaction knowing that I'm getting through to certain individuals, and certainly I do not need credit for anything. As I've stated, my time is very limited, and one of the indicators that I've noticed recently is with the past couple videos tying in Trump with my family and all the other Satanists that are running amok, spreading their mass mind control over an unwitting population, is that they have been on the attack. Specifically, controlling my last remaining devices. Also, clearly, the perps are coming out of the woodwork on YouTube. But with that being said, folks, we press on. And, it seems like the enemy can drag out this end time scenario forever. But we clearly know that although this is Satan's kingdom, his time is nigh. And so, what's going on out there is essentially his last ditch effort to subjugate the global masses and lead them straight to the pit with him. And this is the amazing thing, folks. You could be out there being a hardworking man, woman, supporting a family, but if you do not have God factored into the equation, you're going to get left behind. So one of the things that I've been scratching my head about over in the Middle East is Syria. And in my opinion, clearly, all the actions taken since September 11th has been nothing short of having an excuse for us being over in the Middle East, supporting the fake Jews over in Israel. We clearly know they're not the remnant. But if we want to point them to Scripture, a good place to start might be Isaiah 17. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. Now, one would wonder, is this a future prophecy? Is it something we need to be concerned about? Oh, and a small side note with chapter 17 in Isaiah is a remnant shall forsake idolatry. And you clearly see that in 2019. If you are a targeted soul, you certainly are forsaking the material world. You're forsaking the mass mind control that's being put out from Hollywood and all other sources. But this burden of Damascus is interesting to me. And we know about Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels had possibly had, I guess materialized. And also we know the UN has their base up on Mount Hermon. But with that being said, let's step back in time a little bit. And I want to go back to good old Mr. Churchill. This is the one, my one book I just can't get enough of. And for some reason, Mr. Churchill was concerned about Syria. Now, this is around 1940. And Britain they just don't know where to start, where to put their resources. Germany's been coming at them at all angles, and it's just like, where do we start? You know, the whole thing's out of hand at that point because obviously America hadn't been coaxed into joining the war yet. They needed their Pearl Harbor. But, you know, Winston was very concerned about Syria for some reason. And he doesn't spend too much time in this book, but what he does do is he has a chapter on Iraq and he has a chapter on Syria. So with that being said, I want to just quickly do the beginning blurb from his personal diaries. And Winston writes, Syria was one of the many overseas territories of the French Empire, which, on the collapse of France, considered themselves bound by the surrender of the French government, meaning Syria. And the Vichy authorities did their utmost to prevent anybody in the French army of the Levant from crossing into Palestine and joining us. Now, we clearly know the Vichy French were the Benedict Arnolds of France, and we know that in World War I, Britain had captured Jerusalem, so they had been there for a while, and I'm sure Mr. Churchill certainly did not want to surrender Jerusalem or Syria to the Germans. So he continues on, and the Polish brigade marched over, but very few Frenchmen. In August of 1940, the Italian Armistice Commission appeared. The German agents who had been interned on the outbreak of war were released and became active. By the end of the year, many more Germans had arrived. Now that can't be good, right? And with ample funds, proceeded to arouse anti-British and anti-Zionist feeling among the Arab people of the Levant. By the end of March 1941, Syria forced itself on our attention. The Luftwaffe were already attacking the Suez Canal from bases in the Do and Cannae, and they could obviously, if they chose, operate against Syria, especially with airborne troops. With the Germans in control of Syria, Egypt, and the vital canal zone, and the oil refineries at Abadan, would come under direct threat of continuous air attack. Our land communications between Palestine and Iraq would be in danger, and there might well be political repercussions in Egypt, and our diplomatic position in Turkey throughout the Middle East would be gravely weakened. Now, folks, all those players that I just read, are they not involved with what's going on today? Is history not repeating itself? And what did Winston Churchill really, what was his understanding? Was it really about the oil? Was it about the Germans possibly getting in, taking Jerusalem, taking Syria, Mount Hermon, all the locations that are mentioned in the Bible? Well, I think as we see these future events start to unfold, some of these answers will become apparent. So it's my hope that Mr. Trump and all his buddies, when they say make America great again, hopefully that doesn't mean that this is going to be accomplished by war.